maybe they were trying to be funny, right? We'll just chalk it up to them just thinking they're funny. They don't really mean that in their heart, right? We'll hope that in their heart they're not really that cruel. We would hope. All right, so real quick recap, good mechanics. Isolate the variable, right? Get the variable all by itself on one side of the equal sign. Always maintain a left and right side. Should only be one equal sign per line. It's good mechanics. Use inverse operations to move things, right? Things added to the variable, move by adding their opposite to both sides. Things multiplied times the variable, move by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. And then don't forget key, 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 key. You can't get this backwards. When quantities are both added to and multiplied times the variable, then move things added first. People get that wrong because they think it's an order of operations issue, and it's not an order of operations issue. Okay? You're solving an equation. The order of operations is not applicable in moving quantities. In finishing things off, yes, but not in the moving of quantities. Now, by the way, technically you can move either one first, but most students don't know how to move things multiplied correctly, and it's much more difficult. So this is really the ease. It's an ease issue and an issue that's going to give you the highest probability of getting the problems correct. All right, let's do some review. Again, I think you guys are pretty good at these. Somebody raise your hand and tell me what to do on the first problem. Ethan, what do you want to do? All right, I'm going to add a -5 to both sides. I agree. We usually do our minuses below. One on the left of the equal sign, one on the right. So that leaves me 3n equals -7. Somebody tell me how to finish off Sam. How about -12? No Kool-Aid for you. Thank you. That's what you guys do sometimes, right? -7, -5. It's like I didn't even see the -5. Yeah, it's -12, right? And how do we finish? What's next? Raquel? Okay, so I can divide both sides by 3, right? We're using a shortcut. Not a problem. Divide both sides by 3, which is the same as multiplying both sides by, which is, dividing by 3 is the same as multiplying by 1/3, right? Exact same thing. Multiplying by 1/3 and dividing by 3 is the same thing. And we end up with n equals -4. You're doing a test. You're doing a quiz. You have time left at the end. How can you know if your -4 is the correct answer, Abby? Put it back in for the variable. 3 times -4 is a -12. -12 plus 5 is indeed -7. The left matches the right. We do have the correct answer. Should you do that as you go along? No. You should complete all the questions. Some of you that don't get done on time, you think it's the problem is the test. No, the problem is you. You can't check as you go. You have to finish and then check. You don't have time, right? You got to maximize your time. You have to manage your time properly. All right, so next one. Tell me what to do first. Antonio, what do you want to do? I agree. That's what I would do. If I were you, I would add a 7 to both sides. All right, I want everybody to tell me on 3 how to finish this off. Be specific. All right. Give you a second to think. You ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you weren't specific. Okay, tell me what to do, okay? Don't give me a principle. Don't tell me how to solve everything. Tell me how to solve this one. So on 3, tell me what to do specifically. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, multiply both sides by 3/2, right? The reciprocal, right? It's going to cause everything on the left to leave the variable by itself, right? Everything else is gone. And I'm looking to R-bum, right? And again, technically that's over 1, but there's no reducing, so this is 27 halves. Are we going to change it to 13 and a half? No, we're going to leave it as an improper fraction. 27 halves is good. Now, if you were graphing it on a number line, you might want to change to 13 halves. Otherwise, we're going to leave it. All right, why don't you guys do D? You do D. I'm going to pause the video. -3? Anybody agree? Ooh. All right, that's okay. Adam, what do you think? -48. Anybody agree? Oh, we have about 6 or 8. So who has something different? Raquel? +48. Who has +48? Oh, that's the majority. Let's take a look. So we both, hopefully everybody added a -7 to both sides. And we had -x/4 equals -12. And hopefully you multiplied both sides by 4/-1. Otherwise, you're not going to take care of that negative. And last time I checked, negative divided by negative is a positive. 48. All right? 48. So again, by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal, we can take care of any kind of fractional coefficient. Again, when it's not a fraction, just divide both sides, use the shortcut, piece of cake, no sweat. But when it's a fraction, multiply by the reciprocal, voila. All right, the symmetric property. You guys, next year in geometry, will use the symmetric property. What is symmetrical? Well, I'm a symmetrical kind of person. If you look at my bulletin board, right, I have a big poster in the bottom, in the middle. I've got a little one in the top. But then notice on the left, I've got poster here, and poster here. And I mirrored that on the other side, poster there, and poster there. That's symmetrical. If you had a dividing line right through there, wouldn't it be a mirror image? It is. I'm symmetrical. You know, you look at those on the board. Symmetrical, right? Those 3 things. I'm just symmetrical. That's the way I am. I'm a little bit don't like this wall, but I don't look at it too much, so I'm okay because it's not symmetrical up here and it bothers me. But pretty much most time I'm a symmetrical kind of guy. Symmetrical is mirror image. So what is the symmetric property? It simply allows you to swap sides. In geometry next year, when you're doing geometric proofs, you will have to use the symmetric property at times to get things on the proper side. So you take everything on the right, you put it on the left. You take everything on the left, and you put it on the right. So let's just go ahead and do the symmetric property here to E. So we'll do 13 minus Z over 3 on the left and the 8 on the right. Some people always like to solve with the variable on the left. Do you have to technically? No. Do you really technically have to use the symmetric property? No. I'm just introducing it to you because the course does. It does allow you to swap sides. The people that always like the variable on the left, it will allow you to do that very quickly and easily. All right, so hopefully we're going to add a -13 to both sides, right? Move that. Be careful on this next step. I want you all to write what that becomes. And I hope you all said -5 on the right, right? 13 negatives and 8 positives. These are 5 negatives. What happens on the left is students forget the minus sign. And you can't. It's a -1z over 3 or a -1/3 z. And students will forget the sign. Don't forget it. All right, so just like the other one, finish up by 3 over -1. You need that -1 because you got to take care of this negative sign. And again, if it bothers you, make it a -1z if you can't remember. If just the negative sign causes you not to get it right, then make it a -1z, and then you'll be in great shape. So where do we end up here with z equals 15? Okay. Z equals 15. All right, so let's take a look at F. Let's take a look at F. And in F, again, if we use the symmetric property, get our variable on the left, we can swap sides, right? So just take everything on the left, put it on the right, everything on the right, put it on the left. Be careful with the decimals. If you can't do them in your head, use your calculator. I know the final step, you're definitely going to use your calculator. So if you don't have it out yet, you're going to need it. 10 minus 1.8, that you can do in your head. But again, you got to make sure you're right. And hopefully you get 8.2. So hopefully you agree we would divide by negative 13.2 to finish this. So you're just going to take your calculator out because it's already in decimals, right? We're allowed to have a decimal answer. So 8.2 divided by negative 13.2. Your answer should be positive or negative. All right, well, don't miss them on quizzes and tests. You know the rules. Make sure when you go back and check, your signs are correct. All right, so what do you get when you divide 8.2 by 13.2? And again, this is going to be negative 0.6. What? How would I write that? Does the bar go over the 6 or just the 2-1? Just the repeating part, right? Just the 2-1? So negative 0.621. Normally we round to one decimal place, but there's a little bit of limitation to that. Remember, if the thing ends, we're going to put as many places to end. So if it repeats, we might as well show the repeat. Do you follow? Does that make sense? I mean, if the answer would have been negative 0.673, we would have written the whole thing, right? Negative 0.673 if it would have stopped there. Well, being it repeats, we can show the exact value. Let's show the exact value. Okay. Any questions on any of that? Things added to the variable, you move by adding their opposite to both sides. Things multiplied times the variable, you move by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. Let's do some void problems. We're solving word problems. All right, page 70 in our book. If you'll let me turn there. I don't think you guys need to break your books out. It's just the aspect of keywords. I don't think you need to turn there. Okay, so here's what it says. It tells you to solve word problems. I'll read it for you. Read the problem looking for operational words. Somebody tell me, what are operational words? Abby? Yeah, anything that's going to tell you to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, right? Or do absolute value or square something. Draw a picture if possible. Yes, definitely, if you can. Assign a variable, right? I call it NTV, name the variable. Plan a method of attack. Right, well, whatever. I don't know about that one. Make a table or chart if possible. Translate the word phrases into an expression. That's what we're going to do. Solve the equation. We know how to solve. And then check. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So don't forget to ask on word problems. Who are you going to ask? The mams. Don't forget to ask the mams. Got that, Ethan? Ask the mams. Do you have any earthly idea who the mams is? All right, I didn't think you would. Somebody tell them who the mams is. Go ahead and tell them. Does my answer make sense? Right? So always, you got any word problem, you got to ask when you're done, does my answer make sense? And believe it or not, over the years, I've gotten the most ridiculous answers to things. And believe me, it didn't make sense to anybody. But they didn't bother to ask the mams. And if they did, maybe they'd have figured out what they did wrong. Okay, let me refresh your memory on a couple word problems. 62 is 13 more than 7 times the number. All right, this is a pretty simplistic one. Naming the variable is pretty simplistic. All you have is the number. What do you guys want to call it? N. All right, we'll call it N. You could call it Q or T or V or Z or whatever you want if it doesn't tell you. This one doesn't tell us. Okay, now it's up to translating. So now it's up to translating. And so now we've got to go through and look for keywords. We're doing equations, so we also have to look for the equal sign. And so there's numbers of them in this problem. I like to work from left to right. So working left to right, what's the first keyword you see? Nick? Is the first keyword to deal with. And everybody would translate an is as an equal sign, right? Okay, most people, and I'm going to do it right here because that's what most people would do, would put 62 on that side of the equal sign. All right, what's the next keyword or words we come to? Abby? More than. And we all know with more than that we're going to add. So 62 is more than 7 times the number. I'm going to hold off a second, and we'll deal with that in a minute. You could deal with it now, but that one's going to take a little bit of thought. Let's do the last part. How do we say 7 times a number? Somebody raise their hand. And Kaylin, how would you say 7 times a number? 7n, right? We know our number is n, so 7 times the number is 7n. Now, sometimes with equations, you got to be a little careful, and that's why I waited on the 13 more than. So, 62 is 13 more than what? Than the 7n, right? So the way I have it written right now, this number is 13 more, right? And so where would you add the 13, on the left or on the right? On the right, because the left is already 13 more. So to make it equal, you got to add it to the side that is less. That's a principle that's going to come up a lot. And so just be careful. You got to be careful sometimes the way things are worded. The 13 is on the right. Now, in this case, it does come after the is word, but you got to be careful with the wording, and you have to think a little. Don't be so quick just to write stuff. Kirsten. You can write 13 plus 7n because of the commutative property. So you can do 13 plus 7n, but I think really the idea of the problem is really 7n plus 13, right? 62 is 13 more than 7 times the number. 7 times the number plus 13. All right, we don't have time to solve this. If you did everything correctly, you would come down to 7 equals n. Let's ask the mams. And really in this one, you're going to have to do some substitution. Is 7 makes sense. 7 times 7 is 49. And 13 more is 62. Okay, it makes sense. So on that one, you'd have to almost check to make sense. Sometimes it's not quite that way. Let's get to our last problem here. How many nickels must be added to $1.87 to total $37.77? Ooh la la. All right, I got to go quick. Nickels. Do you want nickels to be n? I do. I do. Okay. How many nickels must be added to? We know that's plus, right? Added to what? $1.87 to get $37.77. Now I left one thing off. How many nickels must be added? So here's what most students will do. So I want you to think for a minute why that's wrong. We're not done yet. And the answer is there if you just think a little bit. Now, if you do it this way, when you're done and you ask the ma'ams, you're not going to like your answer. Because, look, just solving real quickly, you're going to get, what, 35.9? So you're going to have 35.9 nickels. Anybody ever had 0.9 of a nickel? Okay. What's the issue here? Why do we have a problem? Nick? No, it's not a round-off issue. Anybody see the issue here in this problem? Okay. The issue is a value issue. These are in dollars. And the only way money's going to work is if your nickels are in dollars as well. And you got to do the value of the nickel, $0.05. Now, if you solved it, you'd get the right answer. Makes all the difference in the world. You have to deal with the value of a nickel, right? 0.05 cents, $0.05. All right, there's your homework. We will have a quiz mañana. Quiz mañana. Quiz mañana. Have a great day. Yes. So I couldn't find your second try. Okay. All right. Let me take this then. That'll change your score. Yes, sir.
Um, Last week when I turned in the notes,
Hmm?
did you change my grade from 0 to 60?
I have you listed as a 69. So if it's not done yet, I'll make sure it's done. But I do have you in the book.
So it's not a mechanical.
Okay. I'll make sure I change it for you on the info direct. Hey, pass the word around the algebra class. Some of you had, I thought, see me on your paper. Maybe it's pre-algebra. All right, never mind. Yes, Emily. I know. Oh, I'm still recording.